At the center of the Perseus galaxy cluster, 250 million light-years away, lies a supermassive black hole. Its mass is 11 billion suns. According to all modern physics, this should be the quietest object in the universe. But data obtained by the Chandra Observatory revealed something unimaginable. This object makes a sound. Scientists converted the recorded X-ray waves into the audio range. They heard the lowest note ever recorded in the universe. It was not background noise. It was a steady, continuous hum. At first, NASA gave a simple explanation, but new data completely destroyed this theory. The frequency of this sound was so stable that it could not be explained by the chaotic movement of gas. It was a signal with structure, a signal that proves that an orderly process is taking place inside a black hole, ejecting energy outward, a process that violates the laws of physics. And this sound is direct proof of that. Official science always strives for certainty. It seeks simple and understandable explanations that do not disrupt the existing worldview. That is why NASA's initial version sounded so reassuring, so comfortable. They claimed that a black hole, like a giant space whale, swims through hot gas, creating pressure waves in front of it. In essence, it was just ripples in the intergalactic medium that we perceive as sound. This elegant explanation was perfect. It placed the source of the sound far beyond the hole itself, preserving its reputation as an impenetrable information prison. It was published in leading journals and became the canon for years to come. The whole world breathed a sigh of relief, convinced that another mystery of the cosmos had been added to the treasure trove of human knowledge. But this was only a facade. This convenient theory was a house of cards, just waiting for a gust of wind. That wind came with a new generation of telescopes that allowed us to look at the data more closely, and with a resolution that was previously unthinkable. The first crack in the accepted theory appeared when analyzing the signal frequency. Cosmic chaos is never perfect. It always leaves traces of its disorder. Any natural processes, whether boiling gas in a nebula or violent star explosions, create noise with many random fluctuations. Their sound is like the roar of fire or the rumble of a waterfall. Powerful, complex, but never stable. However, the signal from Perseus was completely different. It was pure, frighteningly, unnaturally pure. Its fundamental frequency, that very note of B-flat, remained unchanged throughout the entire observation period, spanning millions of years. It was not like the random roar of cosmic elements, but rather the hum of a giant, perfectly calibrated mechanism operating in the depths of the universe. This incredible stability was the first clue that not only raised doubts, but also forced scientists to double-check their calculations in horror. Random waves in gas cannot sustain such a perfect note for so long. This was not just a crack in the official version. It was a gaping chasm into which the entire old theory collapsed. The very idea of sound coming from a black hole is a fundamental paradox, a violation of the basic logic of the cosmos. A black hole, by definition, is a gravitational anomaly, an object with such infinite density that its gravity distorts space to the limit. Nothing can escape it. Not matter, not radiation, not even light itself. It is the final destination for any particle in the universe, a place from which there is no return. It must be completely silent, an information grave. Any energy, any signal born within it, is doomed to remain there forever, walled up behind the event horizon. So says the general theory of relativity, the foundation on which all modern physics stands. So how? Contrary to everything, do we hear something? This question was not just a mystery. It became an attack on the very foundations of our knowledge. It forced scientists to reconsider not the answer, but the very essence of the question. What is a black hole really? Everything we know about the universe is based on the unbreakable law of cause and effect. Event A inevitably leads to event B, creating a logical chain of reality. But a black hole is a place where this chain is not simply broken, it is annihilated. Imagine a waterfall. There is a point beyond which the current becomes so strong that there is no turning back. This is the event horizon, the boundary of our world. For the universe, anything that crosses this boundary simply ceases to exist in the usual sense. All information about the object, its shape, chemical composition, its past, is erased forever, as if it never existed. This is a point of no return not only in space, but also in time. A black hole is a scar on the fabric of reality, a place where the laws of our world cease to apply, a place where our universe literally ends. At least, that's what we thought. The signal from the Perseus cluster proved that this is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of something completely different and far more frightening. The signal was not just stable. This discovery alone called into question everything we knew. But when scientists, using the most powerful supercomputers, began to filter this monotonous hum, they discovered something that made them freeze in front of their screens. Hidden within this sound was a second, deeper layer, a repeating pattern. It wasn't a single perfect note. It was an entire symphony, encoded in subtle changes in amplitude and frequency that repeated with chilling mathematical precision. The same cycle, the same sequence, repeating for millions of years. Imagine trying to make out a whisper in the middle of a fiery hurricane. That was the task solved by computational algorithms, which isolated this secondary, structured signal. After this discovery, chance was completely ruled out. Chaos does not create patterns of such complexity. Nature does not operate on a schedule accurate to microseconds over geological epochs. This was not a natural phenomenon, it was something else. The discovery presented researchers with an unthinkable and frightening question that no one dared to voice aloud. What kind of complex mechanism could create such an orderly signal within the absolute chaos of a black hole? With the discovery of this hidden, mathematically precise pattern, the theory of waves and gas was not merely shaken, it was destroyed. It was wiped out. Scientists around the world rushed to create the most complex computer simulations in an attempt to save the old model. They entered every conceivable and inconceivable variable into their equations. Extreme plasma turbulence, unpredictable magnetic fields, gravitational disturbances from entire galaxies. They spent months of machine time. Not a single model, not a single one of thousands of simulations could reproduce anything even remotely similar to the recorded signal. All the models showed the same thing: predictable chaos, random bursts of energy, and rapid attenuation. Exactly what you would expect from a boiling cosmic soup heated to millions of degrees, but never a stable, cold hum with an orderly internal pattern. The conclusion was clear, unequivocal, and shocking. NASA's explanation was not just incomplete, it was fundamentally wrong, leading away from the terrible truth. The source of the sound was not outside. It had always been inside. If the source is inside, it changes everything. This statement is a scientific earthquake. It means that sound cannot be a wave in the environment we are familiar with, because inside the event horizon, there is no gas, no plasma, nothing that could vibrate. So what is it? The only answer left for the world's leading physicists was so incredible that 10 years ago, it would have been considered science fiction. It is not waves in matter. It is vibrations in the very fabric of space-time. A new, previously unknown form of energy. A black hole doesn't just create a faint ripple on the surface of reality, as ordinary gravitational waves from mergers do. It causes the very foundation of our world, all 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time, to vibrate like a giant bell. Constantly, rhythmically, with unimaginable force, enough for us to detect it across an abyss of 250 million light years. It doesn't make a sound. It causes reality itself to hum, playing its dark music. But what unimaginable process could be the source of such a fundamental, pervasive vibration? The idea of space-time vibrations was not entirely new. Albert Einstein himself, the father of modern physics, predicted their existence 100 years ago. He called them gravitational waves, and recently, we have finally learned to detect them using incredibly sensitive instruments. But Einstein's waves are short, fading bursts. They are ripples caused by colossal but finite events. For example, when two black holes or neutron stars collide in a cosmic cataclysm. They are like thunder from a distant storm, a powerful shock that quickly fades into silence. But what was recorded from Perseus was fundamentally different. It was not a burst. It was a constant, monotonous, never-ending hum. If gravitational waves are the sound of a tree falling in the forest, then this signal is the continuous hum of a giant power plant, built into the very structure of space. It is not an echo of an event that once occurred. It is direct evidence of a process that is happening right now, at this very second. And it never stops. In the world of physics, the event horizon has always been absolute, the final frontier, a wall separating our known universe from the unknowable chaos within. It is a fundamental law on which all black hole physics is based. Nothing can escape beyond this line. But the constant hum recorded by our telescopes carries energy. It carries information. It breaks through this unimaginable, indestructible wall as if it did not exist. It was a direct, irrefutable violation of everything we knew. The discovery that was supposed to be the greatest triumph of astrophysics was turning into something dark and frightening before our eyes. Because its consequences were terrifying. If the most fundamental law of the universe can be so easily broken there, in the darkness, it means only one thing. No other law, here or anywhere else, is immutable. No law guarantees our stability and safety. Our entire reality is built on a foundation that has just cracked. To understand the full scale of this intellectual catastrophe, we need to go back to its origins. To the beginning of the 20th century, when one man, armed only with chalk and a blackboard, forever changed our understanding of reality. That man's name was Albert Einstein. His general theory of relativity is perhaps the greatest and most beautiful intellectual achievement in human history. It describes gravity not as a mysterious and invisible force pulling objects toward each other, but as an inherent property of space and time itself. Massive objects such as stars and planets push through the fabric of reality like a heavy bowling ball pushing through a stretched rubber trampoline. Other, smaller objects simply move along these natural curves. This theory has been tested hundreds of times with breathtaking accuracy. It has worked flawlessly for a century. All of modern cosmology, the GPS navigation in our phones, our understanding of the evolution of stars and entire galaxies, all of this is built on its unshakable, granite foundation. But this titan of scientific thought has always had one Achilles heel. There is one point in the universe where its elegant and almighty equations break down, cry out in helplessness, and turn into mathematical nonsense. That place is the center of a black hole. At the heart of every black hole, according to Einstein's flawless equations, lies a singularity. It is a concept that challenges the human imagination and logic itself. It is a point with zero volume and mathematically infinite density. Trying to imagine it literally drives you mad. Take a star millions of times more massive than our sun and compress it to a size smaller than a single atom. At this point, the curvature of space-time becomes infinite, and all the laws of physics we know, from thermodynamics to causality, cease to work. Time stops. Space disappears. For a long time, scientists treated singularity as a mathematical abstraction, a convenient filler in equations that has no real physical meaning. They were confident that it was safely and permanently hidden from us behind the impenetrable wall of the event horizon, like an engine hidden under the hood of a car. We know it's there, but we don't necessarily need to see it at work for the car to run. It was a convenient and safe position to take. But what if this mathematical quirk doesn't just exist in reality? What if it is active, and its work has consequences that we can hear? The continuous, steady hum emanating from the black hole required a source of energy. Not just any source, but a colossal, constantly operating generator. Scientists, trying to save existing physics, considered absolutely all options. Could it be energy from matter falling into the hole, from its death throes in the accretion disk? No. The energy of this process would be chaotic and unstable, like the cries of a crowd. Could it be exotic quantum effects at the event horizon, as Stephen Hawking predicted? No. The famous Hawking radiation would be too weak for such a massive hole and would have a completely different spectral character. Step by step, hypothesis by hypothesis, all external and boundary processes were ruled out, and the researchers were left alone with a single, chilling conclusion. The only place inside a black hole with enough, almost infinite energy to make space-time itself vibrate is the singularity itself. What we hear is not the echo of random events around the hole. It is the voice of its active, working core. The voice of the place where our reality breaks down and ceases to exist. This discovery did not elicit applause and champagne in scientific circles. It caused deafening silence and shock. Imagine that you have spent your entire life studying the ocean, mapping currents, absolutely certain that there is nothing at the bottom of the Mariana Trench except pressure and darkness. And suddenly, your deep-sea microphones pick up a rhythmic, mechanical knocking sound coming from there. All your science, all your oceanography, all your maps and theories are instantly rendered useless. This is exactly what happened to astrophysics. Decades of research, thousands of doctoral dissertations, dozens of Nobel Prizes, all of this was built on an elegant and safe model of a dead, passive singularity. And now it turned out to be alive, active, producing energy on an unimaginable scale. This brought the entire global scientific community to a complete standstill, to an intellectual impasse. The old maps no longer worked. The usual tools of analysis failed. It became clear that we know nothing about black holes. The time had come for the craziest, boldest, and most terrifying theories about what was really happening in this heart of darkness. Until then, black holes had been an interesting but infinitely distant and abstract problem for a handful of theorists. They were cosmic oddities, gravitational monsters, objects of study, but not a direct threat. But an active, singing singularity changed everything. The implications of this discovery went far beyond dusty offices and observatories. They touched on our very existence. If fundamental laws, such as the law of conservation of energy and the principle of causality, can be so easily violated there, at the center of a black hole, what prevents them from being violated elsewhere? What law keeps this anomalous physics within the invisible boundaries of the event horizon? And the most important, most frightening question, what if it no longer holds? In an instant, black holes ceased to be just distant objects in the night sky. They became potential tumors in the very fabric of our reality, a fundamental threat to the very stability and existence of the universe. So by the end of this investigation, all the pieces of the puzzle had come together to form a single, frightening picture. We recorded an impossible signal from a place from which nothing can return. We proved that it is stable and orderly, which completely rules out random natural chaos. We realized that it comes from the very heart of darkness, from beyond the event horizon, which refutes all existing theories about black holes. We realized that it carries energy into our universe, directly violating the fundamental laws of physics that we considered immutable. And finally, we identified its source, the singularity itself, the mathematical point where our reality collapses and ceases to exist. The mystery of the sound is no longer a question of what is it, or where does it come from? All these questions have been answered. Now the main question has become much deeper, more existential, and more frightening. Not how, but why? Why is the singularity active? What kind of unthinkable physical process, not described in any book, is happening there right now? And why is its side effect this monotonous, hypnotic, soul-chilling hum? The answer to this question is the key not only to understanding the true nature of black holes, it is the key to understanding the fate of our entire universe. The search for an answer to this question instantly ceased to be just another scientific task. It became the most important and most dangerous mission in the history of human thought. Because the stakes in this game were not just high, they were absolute. It was no longer about winning a Nobel Prize or confirming yet another theory. It was about understanding the fundamental, basic rules by which our reality exists, and about how stable and reliable these rules really are. The answer to the question, why does a black hole sound, could determine not just the future of science for hundreds of years to come, it could reveal the true scenario of the future for the universe itself and our place in it. We, humanity, accidentally peeked behind the theatrical curtain of reality into the engine room of space where we were not supposed to look. And what we saw there, the working mechanism we heard, is capable of changing everything we thought about the past, present, and future. The mystery of the sound from the Perseus cluster ceased to be just an intriguing astrophysical puzzle for enthusiasts. It became a global warning to all of humanity. This low, incessant hum, coming from the abyss across millions of light years, was not an invitation to dialogue. It was an alarm signal, like a lighthouse siren in the impenetrable darkness, warning of hidden rocks. A signal that the most massive and mysterious objects in space are not what we naively believe them to be. They are not passive relics of long-dead stars. They are active, constantly operating mechanisms with a purpose and function completely unknown to us. And to understand this warning, to decipher its true, frightening meaning, we will have to embark on the most dangerous intellectual journey in history. We will have to go where all our maps are useless, where all our laws of physics that protect us die. We will have to go to the very heart of darkness. To understand the full existential horror hidden in this monotonous hum, one must take an intellectual leap into the abyss. You need to understand what exactly breaks down at the very heart of a black hole. The answer to this question lies in the greatest triumph of human genius, Albert Einstein's theory, and at the same time, in its most crushing failure. His equations were our only reliable map of the universe, the tool we used for 100 years to navigate space. We predicted the movement of planets, found distant galaxies, and even corrected the time on satellites. This map worked flawlessly, but it turned out that this perfect map had blank spots, areas marked as unknown, and we always considered them to be simply territories that we had not yet reached. The signal from the darkness proved us wrong. These are not just uncharted territories. This is the lair of a monster that has been living in the blind spot of our knowledge all this time. And this sound is its breath. The general theory of relativity is not just a set of formulas. It is poetry written in the language of mathematics, the most elegant description of reality ever created. Before Einstein, gravity was a ghostly, mysterious force acting at a distance. Einstein destroyed this ghost. He showed that there is no force. Massive objects, like our sun, do not pull on the Earth. They push down on the very fabric of space-time around them, creating an invisible gravitational valley. And the Earth, like other planets, simply rolls along the natural curve of this valley, like a ball rolled along the edge of a roulette wheel. This concept, simple and ingenious, describes absolutely everything, from the trajectory of an apple falling to the ground to the movement of entire galaxies in the universe. It predicted the bending of starlight, the slowing of time, and the existence of black holes themselves. But even the most beautiful and powerful poetry has its limits. There is a point beyond which its harmony and elegance turn into a deafening cry of pure madness. This devastating failure of the general theory of relativity occurs at a single, infinitely small point, the singularity. When a star many times more massive than the sun exhausts its fuel, its core collapses under its own monstrous weight. Gravity wins this titanic battle and compresses matter to such an extent that the curvature of space-time becomes infinite. At this moment, Einstein's elegant equations, which describe the rest of the universe, produce mathematical nonsense. Division by zero, infinity. They simply break down, admitting defeat. Our best, most proven and reliable map of the universe contains a place it cannot describe. There is literally a hole burned in it. And the most frightening, Most incredible thing is that it is from there, from this intellectual failure, from this blind spot in our knowledge, from the place where all our physics ceases to exist, that the most stable, orderly, mechanical sound comes. Scientists had known about this fundamental flaw for decades. It was the biggest and most unpleasant secret in modern physics. They desperately tried to fix it by creating a new, more perfect theory. They tried to do the impossible, to unite two irreconcilable giants. The general theory of relativity, describing a smooth and continuous macro world, and quantum mechanics, describing a discrete and probabilistic micro world. To create a so-called theory of everything that would work everywhere. Dozens of incredibly complex and beautiful options were proposed. String theory, which assumes that everything consists of tiny vibrating strings. Loop quantum gravity, where space itself consists of indivisible pixels. But none of these theories has been proven. None could provide a clear, verifiable answer to the main question. What happens inside a black hole? The black hole kept its secret. It was the perfect safe with an infinitely complex lock. Until now. Until we heard the sound coming from inside. We didn't open the safe. It exploded from within. But there is another perspective on this problem. From the perspective of the second titan, quantum physics. One of its most unbreakable, ironclad laws states that information in the universe cannot be destroyed without a trace. It can change form, but it never disappears completely. If you burn a book, the information in it will not disappear. Theoretically, it can be recovered by collecting data on every particle of smoke, ash, and heat. Information only dissipates. This has given rise to the greatest paradox of modern science, a war between two theories. What happens to the information about an object that falls into a black hole? General relativity says it is erased, annihilated in the singularity. Quantum mechanics cries out that this is impossible, that it violates the very foundations of reality. To reconcile the irreconcilable, the greatest minds, including Stephen Hawking, have proposed a brilliant solution. Information does not go inside, but is printed on the surface, on the event horizon, in the form of a complex two-dimensional hologram. But the sound we hear proves that this theory is also incorrect. It comes from within. It proves that information does not remain at the boundary. It enters the very heart of darkness, where something unimaginable happens to it. This monotonous hum coming from inside the black hole became a funeral bell for all of 20th century physics. It was not just a signal. It was a death sentence for all existing theories. It dealt a crushing blow to the general theory of relativity, proving that it was blind and powerless in the face of the processes taking place at the very heart of its creation. It could explain neither the source, nor the stability, nor the pattern of this sound. At the same time, it dealt an equally devastating blow to quantum mechanics, showing that its elegant theories about the preservation of information at the event horizon were nothing more than a beautiful fairy tale. Information does not remain at the boundary. It falls inside and actively participates in the process that generates this signal and carries it out. Both of our great theories, the two giant pillars on which our entire understanding of the universe rested, turned out to be not just incomplete, they turned out to be fundamentally incorrect in the most extreme conditions. They collapsed. This meant that the truth was not in either of them, nor in their compromised combination. The truth lay in something else. In a new, radical, frightening physics that we had yet to discover. In order to try to grasp the contours of this new, unimaginable physics, scientists had to resort to analogies from our world. Let's imagine something simple and familiar. Water. In its liquid state, it is fluid, mobile, and obeys the well-known laws of hydrodynamics. But if the temperature is lowered, something amazing, almost magical, happens. A phase transition. At 0 degrees, water suddenly changes its internal structure, its fundamental properties, and turns into ice. It becomes solid, brittle, and now obeys completely new rules, the laws of solid-state mechanics. It is still the same substance, H2O, but it has transitioned to a different state of reality with a different set of laws. Scientists ask themselves, what if something similar happens to matter itself, to the building blocks of our world, falling into a black hole? What if extreme gravity is analogous to extreme cold, which causes the very fabric of reality to freeze into something completely different? This is the new, shocking, and at the same time elegant hypothesis put forward by leading theorists to explain the orderly sound coming from a black hole. Inside the event horizon, under monstrous, unimaginable gravitational pressure, matter does not simply compress to a mathematical point, as Einstein predicted. It reaches a critical limit and undergoes a phase transition. It literally rebirths into a new state of reality unknown to science. These are no longer protons, electrons, or quarks, which make up everything we see. This is something else, something fundamentally new, for which we do not even have a name. Perhaps it is pure information, perhaps it is ideal energy, but the main thing is that this new state is governed by completely different laws of physics. Laws that do not exist in our universe. Imagine a computer operating system. Inside a black hole, our operating system of reality is erased, and another one is installed, with a completely alien architecture and logic. And here, in this idea of reforming reality, lies the long-awaited solution to the mystery of sound. Any phase transition in our world, whether it be the freezing of water, the condensation of steam into liquid, or the crystallization of carbon into diamond, either absorbs or releases a huge amount of energy. The sound we hear, that steady, monotonous hum, is the very energy that is released on a colossal scale during this cosmic freezing of reality. It is a byproduct, an inevitable exhaust of the process by which one physics, ours, is transformed into another, alien one. It is the vibration of space-time itself, arising when the laws of our universe, like old code on a hard drive, are erased and new ones are written in their place. The hum from the black hole is not just a sound, it is the noise of a giant universal converter that reformats the very essence of being from one form to another in real time. But is this new physics, born in the heart of darkness, simply different? Or is it something more? A detailed analysis of the complex pattern hidden in the signal yielded a frightening answer. The new reality may be fundamentally hostile to ours. Imagine a mirror world where all our laws are turned inside out. A world where cause and effect are reversed, and the effect can come before the cause. Where time can flow not only forward, but also backward. Where the second law of thermodynamics, the law of entropy, which leads our universe to heat death, does not work, and systems can spontaneously organize themselves. This means that the process taking place inside a black hole does not create something neutral. It purposefully erases. It takes our familiar baryonic matter, built on interactions known to us, and transforms it into something alien. Into matter that cannot and should not exist in our universe, because its laws are poison to ours. This idea of a phase transition of reality completely changes the status of black holes. They cease to be merely exotic physical objects at the edge of the universe, footnotes in textbooks. They become something else, something fundamentally new. Something more like a biological or computer virus operating within the operating system of our world. Imagine a perfect, self-replicating malicious code that has evolved over millions of years for a single purpose. It does not attack the system with brute force, nor does it try to break through its defenses. It penetrates it quietly and unnoticed, masquerading as a natural and harmless process. It seizes its key system resources, our matter, our space-time, and uses them for one purpose: to replicate its own, completely alien code. It doesn't just copy, it assimilates. It rewrites the fundamental constants and laws of nature, replacing them with its own. And the sound we hear, that monotonous, mechanical, steady hum, is simply the background noise of this virus at work. It is not a cry or rage. It is the cold, dispassionate hum of perfect efficiency. It is the sound of the process of total, irreversible rewriting of reality itself. This new model completely destroys the old, almost romantic idea of a black hole as a cosmic prison. It erases from our minds the image of a passive, boring repository for everything that falls into it. The new, frightening data paints a much more active and sinister picture. It is not a warehouse. It is not an archive. It is an active, non-stop production facility operating in 3 shifts without holidays or weekends. The event horizon is its entrance. The accretion disk is a conveyor belt that continuously supplies raw materials. And the singularity is a blast furnace where these raw materials are smelted. A black hole is not just an object in the universe, it is a factory built inside the universe for the sole purpose of its complete dismantling. Its only function is to take our reality as raw material and process it. And the sound we hear is the hum of its invisible machines, methodically, impartially, and efficiently grinding space, time, and matter into something else. Into dust, from which another world, alien to us, will be built. This interpretation forces us to look at the entire cosmos with different eyes. It forces us to rethink everything we see through the lenses of the most powerful telescopes. Black holes are not passive cosmic vacuum cleaners that simply wait for a careless star or gas cloud to fly too close. They are active, purposeful systems with a kind of primitive but insatiable metabolism. This metabolism is not aimed at survival. It is aimed at growth. And any working system, any metabolism, needs fuel to maintain its destructive activity. A constant influx of energy and mass is needed to keep the hellfire burning in the furnace. They are like a fire that must burn more and more to keep from going out. This brings us to a simple but shocking conclusion. Black holes must feed. Not occasionally, but constantly and systematically, in order to keep their factory of destruction of our reality running. Their hunger is the law of their existence. And now the famous beautiful accretion disks that we see around supermassive black holes look completely different. They are not just a picturesque, chaotic cluster of matter doomed to slowly fall into the abyss. They are a perfectly organized, highly efficient feeding process, fine-tuned to perfection. A black hole does not wait passively for food to fall into its mouth. It actively draws in gas and entire stars, creating a giant gravitational vortex to ensure a continuous supply of raw materials for its internal factory. It is the perfect predator, and the glowing accretion disk is its giant, shining web into which more and more victims fall. The bright radiation of the disk, which we admired so much, is not just light. It is the light of the death throes of matter, heated to millions of degrees, seconds before its destruction. We have always admired the unearthly beauty of these cosmic objects, but it turns out that all this time we have been admiring the flawless and cold efficiency of slaughter. And the sound that our telescopes can now detect is a perfect direct indicator of this terrifying process. It has become our stethoscope for listening to the monster's heart. Its volume and the precise characteristics of its pattern are directly related to the amount and type of matter that the black hole is currently absorbing. We can literally hear its diet. A quiet, almost silent black hole is a starving predator that has not eaten for a long time and is in hibernation, conserving energy. A loud, resonant, humming hole, like the one in the Perseus cluster, is an actively feasting monster, devouring entire star systems with the efficiency of an industrial plant. Our telescope has captured more than just an abstract sound from the depths of space. It has recorded in real time the audio track of a monster devouring a galaxy. We can hear it breathing. We can hear its heartbeat. The most frightening thing about this new picture of the world is its relentless, terrifying momentum. Factories for processing reality do not simply exist in a static, frozen state. They are active, and they are expanding. Every star that is swallowed up, every cloud of interstellar gas, does not simply disappear without a trace at the mathematical point of singularity. They become fuel, raw material for the growth of this monstrous machine. They increase the mass of the black hole, with each new gram inexorably expanding its event horizon and strengthening its gravitational influence on everything around it. Imagine a drop of black ink falling into a glass of clear water. Areas with alien physics that are completely hostile to us within our universe are constantly growing in exactly the same way. These are not static anomalies that can simply be mapped and forgotten. These are aggressively expanding bubbles of another reality that are slowly but surely and irreversibly engulfing ours, replacing it with themselves. And this terrifying, all-consuming process is not happening somewhere on the edge of the observable universe, in an abstract place that is safe for us. It is happening right next door, practically in our own backyard. At the very center of our home galaxy, the Milky Way, 26,000 light-years from Earth, lies the supermassive black hole, Sagittarius A, with an asterisk. And the latest, most accurate data obtained after many years of observation shows that it also sounds. It is much quieter than the industrial giant in the Perseus cluster. Its hum is weaker, as if the factory were idling. But this hum, which obeys the same physical laws, has already been recorded by our most sensitive instruments. The reality dismantling factory operates in the very center of our stellar home. We live on the quiet, peaceful outskirts of a giant metropolis, unaware that in its center, block by block, old buildings are being methodically and inexorably demolished to make way for something new and alien. We always reassured ourselves with the thought that cosmic processes unfold on timescales of billions of years, that we have eternity in reserve, and even the most terrifying events will happen so far in the future that it is not worth thinking about them. But here too, an unpleasant, ice-cold surprise awaited us. Analysis of the sound from hundreds of supermassive black holes in different corners of space, in galaxies of different ages, showed the same alarming, inexplicable trend. The younger and more active the galaxy, the louder and more violent its central hole sounds. The process does not slow down over time, as it should with the gradual cooling and aging of the universe. On the contrary, it becomes more and more intense. It is accelerating. We live next to a ticking bomb that is not just slowly growing in size. Its timer speeds up with every second, every year, every millennium. We did not find the universe in its calm, predictable old age. We found it at the moment when the process of its internal self-destruction entered its most active and violent phase. And if a black hole is indeed a factory that takes our reality, our stars, our matter, and transforms it into something else, then the final, most important and most frightening question of the entire second act arises. What exactly does it produce? What is its end product? Every factory, every complex process has a purpose. A car factory produces cars. A brick factory produces bricks. What is the purpose of this global, universal process of dismantling and rebuilding? The answer to this question takes us beyond the limits of known science, beyond the boundaries of physics and cosmology that we have so carefully constructed over the centuries. It takes us into the realm of pure, distilled existential horror, where it is not just our future or the future of humanity that is at stake. At stake is the very nature of our existence and the meaning of everything we see around us in the universe. The process has been set in motion and cannot be stopped. The engine is running, and it is operating at full capacity. The reality processing machine is building something new on the ruins and debris of our world. It is not simply destroying the old, like a forest fire. It is purposefully replacing it, like a builder tearing down an old house to build a new, more modern one on its foundation. The old universe we knew, loved, and tried so desperately to understand is just raw material for a new, next, improved version. The rumbling we hear is not a funeral march for our world. It's much worse than that. It's the noise of the construction of the world that will replace us. But what exactly is it building? And what will happen to us when the construction is complete and the old scaffolding, that is, our universe, begins to be dismantled? We have established that black holes are not just objects, they are factories. Giant, universal factories whose sole function is to take our reality and methodically dismantle it piece by piece. Our laws of physics, our matter, our very space-time, all of this is just raw material to them. But nature, like any efficient production, does not tolerate emptiness and meaningless, wasteful actions. The process cannot consist solely of destruction. If something is destroyed on such a colossal, unimaginable scale, then something else must be created in its place. Destruction is only the first, most crude phase. It must inevitably be followed by a second, more subtle phase, the phase of creation. The factory does not simply destroy, it builds. This is a fundamental law of conservation that works at all levels, from the microcosm to the cosmos. The death of one star becomes the material for the birth of new planets. The fall of an old ecosystem fertilizes the soil for the emergence of a new one. So why should it be any different here? This process cannot be mere annihilation. It must be transformation. And here it is. The final, most incredible and most frightening hypothesis, which, like a universal key, fits all locks and unites all observed anomalies into a single, coherent, and terrifying picture. Black holes are not just factories, they are seeds. Seeds of another new universe that were planted in ours and are now growing inside it, using it as soil, as fertilizer. They are not just destroying our reality. They are actively and purposefully replacing it with their own, absorbing our matter and our space as a nutrient medium for their growth. Each of the billions of black holes in the observable cosmos is not a point of death, not the end of the road. It is a point of birth. A point where a new world begins, literally sprouting through ours, like a seedling breaking through asphalt. We have always looked at black holes as graves, but it turns out they were cradles. Imagine our universe as a giant, boundless ocean, calm and predictable in its laws, and imagine each black hole as a tiny, almost invisible bubble that originated at its very bottom. Inside this bubble is not water. Inside it is a different, alien environment with completely different properties, a different density, and different laws of physics. And this bubble is slowly but surely expanding. It does not rise to the top. It feeds on the water surrounding it, assimilating it, molecule by molecule, and turning it into its own content. According to the new hypothesis, this is exactly what is happening on a cosmic scale. Inside each black hole is a bubble of new space-time that is growing, expanding, and consuming our universe from within, centimeter by centimeter, light year by light year. We do not simply live in an expanding universe, we live inside a universe that is bursting from within with billions of growing alien worlds. This theory sounds like science fiction, like the plot of a Hollywood blockbuster, and it could be dismissed as just another crazy idea, were it not for the frighteningly strong circumstantial evidence it provides. The main, most agonizing and humiliating mystery of modern cosmology is dark energy, a mysterious, invisible, anti-gravitational force that causes our universe to expand faster and faster, contrary to all expectations and the laws of gravity. Scientists have no idea what it is or where it comes from. But what if it is not a property of our universe at all? What if this accelerated expansion is not an internal process, but the result of external mechanical pressure? The pressure of billions of these bubbles, these tumors of a new reality, which grow from within and stretch the old fabric of space-time, like air stretching the walls of a balloon from within. We were looking for the source of energy outside, but all this time, it was inside. And this is not the only circumstantial evidence. For decades, astronomers have been observing strange, inexplicable anomalies in the behavior of entire galaxies that do not fit into our models. Inexplicable excesses of high-energy gamma rays emanating from their centers, precisely where supermassive black holes are located. Strange, elongated, precessing trajectories of stars orbiting these holes, which do not obey Kepler's elegant laws. We used to attribute all this to measurement errors or the mysterious and convenient influence of dark matter. But now we have another simpler and more frightening explanation. For decades, we saw the symptoms but couldn't make the right diagnosis. We saw energy leaks and gravitational anomalies from these areas with different physics, but we didn't understand what they were. Now we know. These weren't just anomalies, they were traces of a progressive, incurable disease in our universe. The sound from the black hole was not just another discovery in a long line of others. It was the key, the missing piece of the puzzle that scientists had been searching for decades. The piece that instantly brought together all these disparate, inexplicable, agonizing anomalies into a single, logical, and utterly terrifying picture. The accelerated expansion of the universe, which we attribute to mysterious dark energy. The strange, chaotic behavior of galaxies in ancient clusters. The inexplicable excesses of gamma rays emanating from galactic centers. The violation of fundamental laws of physics in singularities. These were not separate, unrelated mysteries. They were all symptoms. Symptoms of the same global, pervasive disease. Thanks to this sound, we were finally able to diagnose our universe, and that diagnosis turned out to be fatal, with no chance of recovery. This new knowledge forces us to look at the universe in a completely new way. It forces us to discard all the old, comforting theories. Our universe is not simply dying slowly and majestically of old age. It is not gradually cooling down, as predicted by the Big Freeze theory, sinking into eternal, peaceful darkness. Everything is much worse, much more cruel. Our universe is being devoured from within, right now, at this very moment, by billions of growing cancerous tumors of a different, hostile reality. And this process, judging by all the indirect data, is accelerating with every piece of our world that is swallowed, with every star that is eaten. We have always feared threats from outside, invasions from other parallel universes. But it turns out that the main enemy, the main inevitable threat to our existence, has always been inside. It was born with our universe and has been growing all this time, hidden in the darkness. This means that the end of our universe, Armageddon itself, will be completely different from what we imagined in our wildest theories. It will not be cold and quiet. It will not be a lonely, slow fading of the last light in boundless emptiness. It will be loud, incredibly loud. It will be a deafening, all-pervading roar when these billions of bubbles of another reality, which have been growing and gaining mass for trillions of years, finally collide with each other and merge into a single whole. It will be the moment of the final, global phase transition that will completely and irrevocably rewrite our entire reality, every particle, every law. It will not be death, after which the body remains. It will be a complete, absolute, fundamental erasure, after which not even a memory of the fact that our universe once existed will remain. This discovery also provides the bleakest, simplest, and most logical answer to one of the greatest questions humanity has asked itself while gazing at the stars. Where is everyone? Enrico Fermi's famous paradox. Why do we see no traces of other intelligent, technological civilizations in space, which, according to all laws of probability, should be teeming with life? For decades, we have been searching for our brothers in space. We sent signals, we listened to the silence, we hoped for contact. Instead, we found an active, irreversible, and ubiquitous process of the death of our very reality. The great silence of the universe is not because we are the only intelligent beings, nor is it because all other civilizations are destroying themselves in nuclear wars. It's much simpler and much scarier than that. The great silence is the quiet of a cemetery before dawn. It is the calm before the storm. Perhaps intelligent life in the universe is just a brief, fleeting, accidental flash of light that manages to appear and become aware of itself before its homeworld is inevitably swallowed up by the growing black hole at the center of its own galaxy. It is a cosmic trap from which there is no escape. Perhaps no one is making interstellar contact because all sufficiently advanced civilizations are too busy with desperate but doomed attempts to survive. They build walls, they seek refuge, they try to escape, or even worse, They discovered the same truth we did long ago, and they simply remain silent because they know that everything is meaningless. Because there is no one to talk to and nothing to talk about. This hypothesis offers a new, even darker and more definitive explanation for the concept of the Great Filter. For decades, astronomers and futurologists have speculated that there is some invisible barrier preventing technological civilizations from developing to an intergalactic level. They thought it was a technological dead end, self-destruction in a nuclear war, or the depletion of resources. But the truth turned out to be much simpler, more elegant, and more ruthless. The Great Filter is not an event that can be avoided. It is not a mistake. It is a fundamental property, a built-in function of our universe. No civilization, no matter how ancient or powerful, can escape the confines of its home galaxy group. Because the universe itself destroys itself from within, using supermassive black holes as instruments of this process. A galaxy is not a cradle, it is a cage, and sooner or later, the mechanism of this cage is triggered, recycling all of its contents. And the sound we have learned to hear, this deep, steady, infrasonic hum from the abyss, is not just scientific data on a monitor. It is not just confirmation of yet another exotic theory. In light of new knowledge, it takes on its true, terrifying meaning. It is the ticking of the cosmic clock. It is the beating of a giant, invisible metronome, counting down the time to the final act of creation, in which our version of reality will be erased and replaced. Each of its periods, lasting millions of years, is one tick of this clock. And with each new star absorbed, with each new cloud of gas falling into the furnace of singularity, this rhythm becomes louder, clearer, and more insistent. We are not just observing the universe, we are hearing the countdown to its end. What does all this mean for us, for humanity, for our short and fragile civilization on a tiny planet orbiting an unremarkable star? The answer is simple and terrifying in its simplicity. Nothing. And therein lies the main, final horror of this discovery. We cannot stop it. We cannot influence it, we cannot fight it, we cannot build a ship to fly away or a weapon to defend ourselves. Fighting it is like trying to stop the sun from rising or turn back time. We can only know. We are the first generation in the history of our species to learn the truth about the fundamental instability and ultimate, predetermined fate of our universe. We are no longer players in the game. We are merely witnesses to a process that began long before us and will end eons after we are gone. But this knowledge, this awareness of the inevitable end, does not negate or devalue our existence. On the contrary, the realization of how incredibly fragile and fleeting our reality is makes every moment, every breath, every thought infinitely more valuable and vivid. Our brief moment under the stars, our unique opportunity to love, create, ask questions, and seek answers, that is all we have. And now we know what an incredible, statistically impossible, and rare gift this is in a universe that devours itself. We are an anomaly. We are a brief, bright flash of awareness in the heart of an indifferent mechanical storm. And the value of this flash is absolute. Now, with this knowledge, let's go back to the very beginning. To that quiet, deep, almost inaudible hum coming from the constellation Perseus. To that very note of B flat, 57 octaves below middle C. Before, it was just a scientific mystery, food for thought, a topic for dissertations. Now we know what it really is. It's not just a sound, it's the whisper of the coming end. It's the echo of our shared, collective sentence, which was not handed down by us and not for us. A sentence that was written into the code of the universe at the very moment of its birth. We have always listened to space in the hope of hearing news of life. Instead, we heard the ticking of the clock of its death. For the first time in human history, we heard the voice of a black hole. And it did not speak to us. It did not reveal the secrets of the universe or invite us to engage in dialogue. It was completely indifferent to our existence, just as the ocean is indifferent to a grain of sand at its bottom. It simply did its job, humming like any perfectly tuned, gigantic machine. It pronounced our sentence not with words, but with the very fact of its existence. All we see are stars, galaxies, nebulae, everything we know, our laws of physics, chemistry, biology, everything we love, our planet, our lives, our art. All of this is temporary. All of this is just raw material, just fuel for what comes next. And this voice, this hum of universal construction, becomes clearer with each passing year. With each new, more sensitive telescope we build, we hear it better and better. With every new star that is swallowed up, with every new cycle of its vibration, it becomes louder.